Let's go to Mac in Loveland, Colorado. What's up, Mac?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, brother. How are you, man?
I'm all right.
All right. So what's up, dude?
I need help kind of figuring out if and then maybe where I'm being too hard on my wife and our relationship. And
what makes you think you're being too hard?
Some of it is whenever we have conversations specifically about harder stuff
Be
or
specific.
more serious things.
What's harder stuff?
When it comes to what our family looks like moving forward in regards to kids, where we want to live, stuff like that, or even just any hard topics that come up in the world just naturally. I like to talk about those things, and sometimes I feel like I might force them onto her, but she tends to shut down, not talk about things, and push them away, or at least that's how it feels to me. And I don't know if I'm putting her in a position to do that. And on top of that, our relationship just kind of feels like it's been rocky since we've been married.
Okay. Well, I'll just start the call with saying thank you for being brave, man. That's a hard phone call to make. Have you told anyone else that you're struggling with this?
Yeah, some of my friends.
Okay. What do they say?
Depending on the topic, it sometimes, depending on the friend, turns into a, kind of comparing thing about relationships, and I try to stay away from those. And then some of them tell me that, things will work themselves out, and when things move forward, like, with kids, for example, that, people will just kind of be able to step it up because they'll have to. And I kind of get a little bit of everything. And so that's why I don't really know where to go.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the trust, man. So when your wife shuts down, when she shuts down and you ask her about it, what does she say?
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of part of the problem is she shuts down, and there are times where I know that I get a little too frustrated for it, and not in like an I'm yelling kind of way. It's just I'm clearly frustrated, and I've been trying really hard to recognize when that's happening and take a step back and maybe come back to it later. But even when I don't do that, it still just feels like it goes nowhere. Words don't come out, and it just becomes like this like circular conversation.
Mm-hmm. What's your goal for the conversation? Are you really trying to get to, hey, let's go ahead and nail down how many kids we want to have, or where do we want to live, or is this your way of trying to be intimate, trying to connect?
I would say both, but probably more towards the like actually trying to figure things out.
Okay. Y'all been married 2 years. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. When I was 27, we were going to have 4 kids, and I was cool at stopping with 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to live probably in Houston, Texas, was my guess. And now I've got 2 kids. We're done, and I live in Nashville. Not even on the radar. And so what is your impulse to try to nail this down? Why do you need this nailed down right now at 27?
I don't even necessarily want to say nailing it down. I just want to be able to talk about some of these things, and it seems like we can't. Like it kind of started at first as she's getting ready to turn 30, and so it's, doing the whole like I'm 30 and getting old kind of thing, and I've got 7 gray hairs, and that kind of thing has been going on. And then it's turned into I'm, on, like she's brought up, I'm on a timer now with the whole baby thing, and we got to think about this. And for me, I more want to make sure that our relationship is strong enough to where when we bring a child into the world, that it's in a good place, the best place that I can make it.
What does that look like?
A strong family between her and I.
I know, but be very specific. What's a strong family between her and I? Because here's what I hear just in your language is very amorphous, and some of that may be because you're nervous on the radio, but it's very the way you communicate, even with me, is somewhat circular and somewhat amorphous.
Okay.
Just even the way, like, tell me what hard things. It's just things that we're talking about, what our family might look like down the road. Instead of saying how many kids are we going to have and where we're going to live and what she wants to do as a career. You see what I'm saying? Like, one of those is very direct. Here's what I'm trying to get answers to. And I can imagine if somebody's hinting around, hey, I'm 30 and I'd love to have a family with you, and we've been married for 2 years. And you're like, well, I kind of have this thing about what it's going to look like, and I want to make sure we're strong. That's telling her, I'm still trying you out. And I don't have any clear criteria for you. My guess is she has learned to shut down. That's usually a behavior people pick up in their childhood. But it is a futile, like, this conversation will go nowhere and will have no bearing on, there's nothing I can say in this conversation that's going to have any impact on my life whatsoever, except possibly negatively. So I'm out.
Okay.
And I don't know what you're waiting for or what kind of metric. I've got friends in my life that's like, I wanted to have X number of dollars in the bank before I had a kid. That was a security blanket for me. I wanted to have this level of position at a job until I realized every job is fungible, and the higher up the ladder you go, the more likely you are to get fired. I didn't know anything. Like, so I had all these imaginary things, but it was pretty clear, here's when we're going to start having a kid. My wife and I weren't trying out. Right? We wanted to both be done with grad school. So we had some very clear metrics. It doesn't sound like you have those. You just have this idea that I kind of want to. Am I wrong?
Kind of. I just maybe just a little bit nervous because I'm calling in.
No, that's cool, and that's totally fine. It's totally fine.
Some of it specifically is, her and I were maybe intimate once every 2 or 3 months, and we're only 2 years in, and it's been that way practically since we got married.
Okay.
And I try to talk with her and figure out what's going on with that. There's a thing that not always, it comes up frequently.
Okay.
Where she kind of gets in her own mind, and she's told me this, so this isn't like me saying it, where she gets in her own mind, she essentially like catastrophizes a lot of things, specifically like death, and freaks out and goes into a spiral. She's woken me up in the middle of the night, like crying and bawling, and I'm like, I don't know what the heck, I wasn't trained for this. So like, there's things like that. And I think a really big thing that I may be conflating the two things, but it's also trying to figure out, she went through a lot when she was younger with her family. And I am worried that it's kind of affecting things now, and that it could affect our family going forward.
So let me tell you, both of you went through things as a child that is affecting your relationship right now. 100% chance.
Yes.
The only question you have moving forward is, are we two going to work together to heal from what was and create something awesome moving forward? Create something new, create something strong, create something beautiful, create something of our own devising moving forward. That's the only question you have. And the answer to some folks is no. I'm going to live in the past. I'm going to always be this person who was abused, traumatized, neglected, left, whatever the word is. That is going to be who I am. And then, unfortunately, you as somebody married to that person have to decide, is this the life I'm signing up for? Am I going to just ride this one out? Or am I out of here? Or the other side is, we're going to change everything. Have you said, hey, I want to go see a counselor together?
Yes.
Okay. And she said no?
She's said yes. Our biggest problem is scheduling, but that's just an excuse.
100%.
Actually do it.
100% excuse. And so what you can do is take the lead. Because this sounds like the shutting down thing and the being hard thing, that what it sounds like is a house filling up with pressure of frustration. She's frustrated at how she responds and how she feels because she wants to feel different as your husband, as your wife, and she wants to feel different as X and wants to feel different as Y. And you want to experience this and you want to experience that, and none of that is happening. and you're walking and talking past each other and you're living past each other. You're only having sex 2 or 3 times. Once every 2 or 3 months. And you're frustrated by that. She's frustrated by that. And then all of a sudden, it's because baby becomes the issue, or where we're going to live becomes the volcano. But man, it's been churning underneath. Here's the frustrating part. All you can fix on planet Earth is you. That's it.
Yes.
And so if I'm you, I'm going to go sign up for my own therapist ASAP. Okay? I'm going to go say, I'm going to start dealing with me. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start doing these things for me to be healthy and me to be well and me to be whole. I'm going to get a job that I actually feel like right. I'm going to start doing these things. And every time I'm going to invite my wife along. I'd love for you to join me. I'd love you to come be a part of this. Right? Is that fair?
Yes. No, that's fair. I guess how, and I know I can't obviously force her into doing anything, but how can I maybe ask her to get help with me, or, alongside me or something like that with stuff that she's been through? Because that's kind of, it all kind of seems to go back to something she went through when she was younger and is still connected to, specifically to keep it as family friendly as possible.
Hey, we're way past that on this show, dude. We're way past that.
Fair enough. Her dad isn't her biological dad. When she was 8th or 9th grade, went to prison for the rest of his life for recording himself with children, his niece.
Okay.
And
so her dad, her dad was a pedophile.
Yes, and mentioned her in a recording, and she says nothing ever happened with her. But that's kind of was her starting point, and she still talks to him on the phone. He is still abusive to her on the phone. Like, every time she gets off the phone with him, I just hear it in her voice, and I try talking to her about it, and then it turns into, well, I thought you weren't going to make it. No, you were my dad. And it's like,
okay, right. So here's the way forward there. If you have a conversation in that, right at the end of that phone call, you're talking to somebody who's in such escalated fight or flight, there is no conversation happening there. There's survival only. There's a conversation to be had that says, hey, I'm going to make breakfast on Saturday. We're going to do this one at home. And I want to tell you some things. I'm not going to ask you for your response in any of these things, but I've got some things that have been on my heart and in my chest, and I want to tell you.
How many times would I try that? Because I've tried that a few times, I think.
One time, I'd write a letter.
Okay.
And I would read the letter, and then I would leave it with her. And when you start to have this conversation, she may shut completely down, not hear a word you're saying, just try to survive. She's had to survive her whole life. In that letter, if she'll go back to it and go back to it and go back to it, she'll see this man's different, and this man loves me. This man sees me, and this man wants me to be whole. And she'll get to choose moving forward. Ultimately, she's going to have to decide, I want to get well. And a wellness journey for her is going to be hard. And you have to convince her that I'm going to be right here with you. But yeah,
I can do that.
I can imagine she's got sex and intimacy for her is war. It's terror, right? It's hard.
Probably, yeah.
And she may not even know that. Or it's disgusting because it was used as a way to hurt children. And, there's a million different ways her body can take that. All that to say is, this is going to be the definitive conversation. I need you to get well. I can't hear that man's voice in my home. I don't want him calling our house. And if you need to talk to him more than me, then I'm going to have some hard conversation. I'm going to have some hard decisions to make. Because every time this man calls and talks to my wife, she gets hurt all over again. And I love you too much to does that make sense? I love you too much to let you continue to talk so negatively about yourself here.
I guess I'm worried that that's going to be an ultimatum, and
What's your alternative,
I don't
man?
know.
Just keep floating along like you are? Look up and it be 5 years from now? And she's more withdrawn, and y'all have had sex 4 times in 5 years? I mean, what's the alternative?
I mean, that's, I guess, what I'm scared of and why I really want to.
Where this usually ends is in ash, in resentment. Somebody ends up running into a coworker that makes their heart beat a little bit faster, or they find some websites that make their heart beat a little bit faster, or they start working 130 hours a week and make themselves busy, or they have one more drink and one more drink. Because when our relationships aren't whole, there's an entire ecosystem that will take that pain from us and just distract us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you to make an ultimatum, but you're going to get there at some point. I will not accept X, and I will accept Y. The faster you can get there, the more peace you're going to have. Because right now, it's just this ambiguous. I don't know. So I don't. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of.
Yeah.
The more you live there, the more your body is trying to solve it.
I guess I'm just scared to be specific because of where it could lead. It scares the crap out of me.
I totally get that. But just know this, the ambiguity's killing you. And the ambiguity's killing her too. Because she doesn't want your relationship to be where it is either. And so some specificity. It's like when people are getting out of debt and they know they owe a bunch. It's like, dude, you got to write down how much you owe somebody. Or when people's eating is out of control, like mine has been the last couple of months. Dr. Norton, my buddy Lane, he said, dude, I've got the best product on the market, and just start measuring what you eat. Dude, I had that app for a while before I had the courage to start going like, all right, I got to just start. And dude, I didn't like it. I've loved the app. I have not liked the reality of my eating habits. When my wife sits down and we have budget conversations, I don't like the reality of my spending habits, but they're reality, right? And so that specificity helps us have a starting point. And right now, you guys are just living in this amorphous tension. And when you live in the amorphous, you both default to the things that your body knows. Hers knows to withdraw. Yours knows to try a little bit harder and have a different conversation. And those aren't working. And so at some point we have to say, here's the status of our relationship. We've slept together 3 or 4 times the last year. Every time the pedophile calls our home, and I know he's your dad, you feel like this. Every time I want to talk to you about the future, this happens. And I need something different. I need you. And I'll be a part of your healing journey. This is going to be hard. But yeah, I think specificity is really important in this season. What do you need? And what does she need? And how can you help each other get there?